All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so happy to bring to you guys Behind the Screen, where we take a professional player, coach, analyst, or content creator, and we do a little bit of an interview with them, and then we do some film review with them as well, so you guys can really get to know the person behind the screen. Hence the word of today. We have none other than professional Halo player, coach, analyst, and content creator. He checked all the boxes that we go through it behind the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Eli the Ninja, or now Eli the Sensei. Tell him something, Eli.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Yeah, like you said, I'm Eli. I've been in Halo forever. 32 now. I think I'm on the older side of the Halo community at this point. Yeah, I've been playing forever. I used to make montages for Halo 2, and nowadays I coach G1. So that's me.
And damn good at it too. And G1 has had a miraculous. I mean an amazing start to the season, to HGS. You know, their first season going to season 1. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But you've been there the entire journey. But why don't we start off with how you feeling this morning? I didn't want to get to the question. Eli, how were you? It's the day after Thanksgiving. Did you eat?
So to be honest, I moved to Texas like 6 months ago, and I have no family here. I made friends with one of my neighbors, and she invited me to go spend some time with her family. So I did that. I had, you know, that was my only option, but that was a good time. We played some games and hung out, and then yeah, I just chilled and came home early. To be honest, I've been going to sleep at like 5 in the morning recently, but last night I like purposefully went to bed at a reasonable hour, like 1 in the morning, just so I could be up for this. But so I'm a little tired, but besides that, I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, that gamer's first schedule right there. That's the real gamer hours. I'm doing great.
Yeah.
I decided, because I've been taking so many breaks with the content creation. I decided I stayed home. I'd ordered pizza the night before. I had leftover pizza, and I literally streamed all day. That's all I did. All I did was stream and play Halo all day. I'm thankful for Master
Yeah.
Chief. He's been like a father to me. I love how I asked Eli what did he eat. And his first response, I went to my neighbor's house, like, whoa, 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 whoa. I meant food, buddy. I don't know what's going on here, buddy. I meant food. And this man went straight out of left field, bro.
No.
We just had a major update. We'll go a little easy. Eventually, I'm gonna hit you with the hard hitting question. They're gonna hit like freaking boulders. I'll go easy on you. I'm gonna start off.
I'm ready for whatever, man. I'm ready.
Major update. Winter update came in, changes to the BR, Commando, Plasma Pistol, even the rank system, how you gain CSR, how you lose CSR, a lot of stuff packed into that winter update. How do we feel about it? What do we think about the new update?
To be honest, I think overall it was a good patch. I mean, Forge is the biggest thing in the world, in my opinion. Like, as soon as that is fully operational and it's had more time for all these new maps to be created, that's going to ultimately be the biggest thing with the winter update. I do watch Unique's stream like all the time. He just started working on Sanctuary yesterday. I think he almost finished it in 1 day already.
Damn.
Besides that, like with the weapon balance changes, the Commando seems a little overtuned right now, which is weird because it used to be too strong, then they nerfed it, and then it was too weak, and now they buffed it and it's too strong, and it's like they need to figure out some way to find that happy medium with that gun. The plasma pistol tracking seems a little too strong right now. I don't know. I think my biggest gripe with it, like, I think the BR changes feel good because it's like more satisfying. You have to work a little bit harder for your kill. The headshot's not free anymore. But the problem is, like, the game was already about controlling the sandbox, and now it's even more about controlling the sandbox. Like, if you spawn up and the other team already has everything on the map, you almost have no chance if the other team knows what they're doing. So I don't know. The meta's in kind of a weird place right now. Not sure if we're going to see another patch to change anything before the next season. So I guess we just got to adjust. And my take on it is the best teams in the league next season are going to be the ones that are most effective coming off of being 4 dead, because that's a scenario that every team's always going to be in at some point during the game, and whoever is like most effective and has the best strategy coming off of 4 Dead is probably going to be one of the best teams. So that's what I look forward to seeing how the meta changes.
Yeah, it's like we don't judge teams based on them rolling downhill. You know, like if you're already slaying out and you're constantly putting your enemy team on a cycle, you know, things are probably easy at that point. It's what happens when your backs are against the wall. What happens when you're forced to come out of your comfort zone off of that 3 or 4 down, like you said, and what's the game plan? Are we small talking? Do we have a blueprint, and how are we going to execute that against a team that already has momentum on you? I think that's a great point. And it's so fun. And this is a whole conversation for a different story, for a different time. But yes, Halo's always been about controlling the sandbox. But I specifically remember in competitive, we've had a very limited one. Like, you know, when we talked about controlling the sandbox when it came to competitive, it was referring to power weapons. But very few games, in my, at least in my knowledge base, had a tier 1 and tier 2 option as plentiful as infinite. Like, we're talking about infinite as like double the tier 1 and tier 2 weapons that other games do. So when I think about the competitive atmosphere, I think of like the competitive ecosystem, and I think of controlling the sandbox. I think like the tier 1 and tier 2 weapons can't be overpowered. If you have so many of them, they can't be,
Right.
they can't be overpowered. They need to be situational. And as of right now, it feels like you said, a bit of an overtuning. Maybe we need to find a middle ground on where the commando was and where and where it is right now. Maybe there's a middle ground somewhere, or we need to go back to Halo 3, Halo 2 days where competitive settings for the pros are separate from social and ranked. And I hate to say that. I would love a world where we have the casual competitive settings being as close as to each other as possible. The problem is that you can't make everybody happy. Like the commando in the hands of Renegade is different than commando in the hands of me, Eli.
Yeah, that's a fact too. I mean, there's definitely a skill gap with the commando for sure. Like you can't just be, a gold or silver player and pick it up and shred the other team. Like it's not like free kills. But at the highest level, we want the game to be, I don't know, it should reward the team that is the most consistent with the best teamwork. And it's like sometimes if the other team just gets a few guns on the map, like that's just gonna overpower any team. So I don't know. It's definitely not an easy problem to solve, but one that I think if HCS continues to listen to the pro community and like have to say about the balance changes and actually take our feedback to heart and understand that it comes from like experienced and intelligent place, I think we'd be moving in the right direction as long as we have somebody at HCS listening to us for that. So we'll see where it goes.
Hopefully we can move in the right direction here soon. We're gonna move into a different direction here, because as much as I love talking about myself, this is about you, and you accomplished quite a bit in your Halo career. But take me back to where it all began. Take me back to how did we get our start in gaming? I'm assuming little Eli. Well, how did little Eli, the I guess not the ninja, the monk, I guess I don't know what the pre-level of a ninja is, but the Genin. How
Right.
did Eli the Genin get his start in gaming?
So, I don't know. I guess I was fortunate to have. My dad was a nerd that, like, I guess in the '80s he had like the very first computer that was ever made. So, like, he was always buying like fresh new technology. Thought it was really cool. I guess he played at arcade. My mom said he used to play at arcades all the time. So when like personal consoles started coming out, he got my brother and I the original Nintendo. So the Nintendo Entertainment System. I remember playing like soccer games on that and Super Mario. Then we got the Super Nintendo, playing all kinds of games on that, and N64, GameCube. So I grew up playing Nintendo, and then Xbox comes out. My brother was a huge nerd. He's like 4 years older than me, and I guess he knew the Xbox was going to be awesome. So he like we got to get the Xbox. So that we started playing Halo 1 from the day it came out. Actually, we were there with Halo 1 when the Xbox came out. So yeah, I've been gaming my entire life, believe it or not. So um, yeah, that's kind of how I got started in the first place.
I mean, that's awesome. I feel like most of us that are in competitive gaming have been gaming for quite some time. Very, very rarely do I hear somebody who says, "I just started gaming when I was 18 years old and now I'm 19." Like, oh, okay, well, but my
Yeah.
question is because not everybody takes that left turn. So, how did this lead to competitive gaming? How did we go from Mario to the Master Chief?
You know what's funny about that? Okay, so my older brother used to just beat the shit out of me in every game we ever played, like to the point where I was throwing my controller against the wall playing GoldenEye 007 against this guy. Like he's just a naturally good gamer at whatever game he picks up. And I guess I have the same gene too. I've been, top 10 in a few different games now. But he I don't know, I just always wanted to beat him in games. So I every game we played, I tried to be good at it. I always looked up like tips and tricks, like gamefaqs.com. I was always on that site. If the game had like any kind of cheats or like secret advantages that you could get, I was like trying to find those so I could beat my brother in whatever game it was. And then like Halo 2 comes out, and my brother got addicted to World of Warcraft, which was fortunate for me. So I started playing the Xbox a lot more. Uh, and same story. I was trying to find like glitches and different things back then. Like I was super bouncing outside of the map on Headlong and Waterworks and Ivory Tower, Foundation, all these like just crazy things. So when I'm doing all these researches on glitches, like that was my whole thing. I just love glitches in the games. Then I found like people doing the double shot in the BXR, and I was like, holy shit, you can like shoot the gun faster or like kill somebody instantly with a melee kill. So then I start going down that route, and then somebody told me about MLG, and they're like, "Yo, do you know they have tournaments for this game?" And I was like, "What?" I thought it was so cool, and then I started looking up videos of like Walshy and the Ogres. Started watching these guys play all the time, and just I don't know. Over time, I started getting more on the competitive side, and then just started playing it all day, every day. I would literally get home from high school, and at like 2 o'clock, get on the game at 2:15, play until 2 in the morning, and then go to sleep, go to school, sleep through my first two classes to catch up on the sleep I didn't get the night before, come home, rinse, repeat. I just played an insane amount of Halo 2 until finally convinced my dad. I was like, yo, there's a tournament in Atlanta, Georgia. Would you drive me to it? And my dad drove me 9 hours. 9 hours. Mind you, he had just been in a motorcycle accident, so he had a cast on his arm. So he's literally driving like this for 9 hours to take me to a gaming tournament just because I asked. So, dude, if it wasn't from shout out to my dad. If it wasn't for him, I would have never been a pro gamer. And then I actually didn't do that well at that tournament, but the next tournament, Meadowlands, I ended up placing top 8 out of like 2,000 players in the free for all bracket. Then came home with some money, and my mom was like, "Oh, you can make money doing this." And then from then on, I just went to pretty much every event I could possibly attend, which was like 30 events over the next 3 years after that. So it was yeah, that's pretty much how it all started and where we went from there.
That is awesome. It's funny because my next question was gonna be, was your family supportive of this? And right off the rip, you tell me, your dad, right off of a motorcycle accident, driving you 9 hours to A Town.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, Atlanta traffic is the worst. I promise
God,
you,
yeah.
from somebody who's driven in New York, New Jersey, I've been across. I've been across the country. Atlanta's the worst. Dad obviously
bad.
loves you, and then it becoming real, because now you come back to mom like, mom, first tournament or excuse me, second tournament, first real one, I guess, if you will, and you're already coming back with a little bit of money, no matter how much it was at the time, inflation, yada yada yada. Either way, it becomes real, tangible at that point, and mom's like, okay, so I bet the family after that started to get support of it. You already said your dad was a nerd to begin with, so he was probably already backing you. And what was the family support like going into competitive gaming?
Yeah, I mean, what's funny though is before I even attended an event, so this was the MySpace era. This will age me a little bit, but
Good
this
God.
was back when, yeah, we were MySpace, and I was making my Halo 2 videos where I was like getting clips and kills and stuff. And within the montage, as a 15, 16-year-old, I was advertising my lessons. So if you went to my MySpace, you could purchase Halo lessons on my MySpace, and I was selling them for $45 an hour.
Let me see if I can find
And
that
this
real
was
quick.
like, what's that?
I said, let me see if I can find that real quick. I need those. I'm sorry, go.
But yeah, I mean, I guess I had the wherewithal back then to use it as a means to make money. And my mom saw that I made like $2,000 on PayPal just selling lessons from people that saw my montages. So she was already kind of like, wow, this is interesting. And then she saw, at the time, I think my first montage got like 200,000 views on YouTube. Like, it was like a lot of attention already before I was even going to tournaments. And then I go to the tournament and I place top 8 out of 2,000 players, and she's like, okay, maybe this is a real thing. And then she's never like fully understood it, because she's not at all like a gamer. She's not very tech savvy. I have to help her with most of her tech issues, but like, she's the type of mom that's like, well, it makes him happy, then it's good. And she supported it that way. My dad, I think, understood it a little bit more, because he's competitive. He's been like a professional dart player. He's competed, and my brother was a soccer player. My dad was also a soccer player. So like, he just saw Halo as like, I don't know, an extension of competition, and he kind of understood it from the jump. So I was definitely fortunate to have a supportive family in that way.
That's great to hear, and that's amazing. It's $2,000 just from the lessons. Which I mean, I mean, hey, montages back then weren't as, you know, frequent. You wouldn't see them as frequent as you do now. Like, now we're in the TikTok era, so now it's less montage, more like, you know, quick,
Right.
digestible content. But you're seeing so many of them. Back then, you know, if you were a montage, you were already the coolest of the cool. And then, I mean, yeah, you probably don't want to scratch your own back, but you're one of the best to do it. I mean, the montage that you made back then are still being talked about today in 2022. And mind you, you're 90 years old, so that's really impressive. But it's really impressive. And so, damn, wow, this man was making bang. Why did you even go to Wikipedia? I just keep doing the lessons thing. God
Yeah,
bless.
I should have probably just leaned into that a little bit more.
Well,
But nowadays, it's cool how it's come so far. Now everybody's doing lessons. Like, we got Medify and shit like that now. So
it's
come full
crazy to see where
circle.
we're at right now in all of sports and all of game. Well, I mean, we talked about your time as a Halo player. Obviously, we know you're a coach, you know, content creator, even back in the day with the montages. What are some of your most career-defining moments when it comes to gaming specifically?
Yeah, actually, I mean, honestly, I would say that like, the montages kind of made me who I am at this point. Is like, that's where people really started to notice who I was from the montages originally. So, like, as a player, I got top 8 a handful of times in Halo 2 and Halo 3. Like, I was top 10 all of the first season of Halo 3, but like, never broke into the top 4 at a tournament. But what really defined me, and the reason that there's like an Eli ledge and all this other stuff, was just because like, people recognized I had a lot of raw skill, and I like to show it off in montages, just going for flashy clips and stuff. So my Halo 2, the second montage that I released with Hysteria, so it was a dual tage with Hysteria in Halo 2 when we were on Believe the Hype with Cloud and Joe I back then. Um, that one I still get messages about all the time. Like, I think we won a montage contest on Halo 2 forum, or got top 3 at least. I can't even remember. I know we got top 3. We won something. But like, those videos, like, I don't know. I don't think I would be where I am now if I never made those videos, cuz like I said, my placements weren't all that amazing, but because like, outside of the tournaments, I was making content and was really one of the original content creators. Me and Old Man Mikowski both were. That's kind of like how I made a name for myself. And then, people paid more attention to me, whereas like, other players around my skill level that were having similar tournament placements probably didn't get as much exposure, because they kept to themselves. They didn't like put themselves out there. They weren't capitalizing on the whole social media thing the same way I was. So I'd say, yeah, that would be a career defining moment, was the release of my second montage.
Of that. And that montage is legendary, guys. We're gonna have a link to that montage down in the description down below if you watch on the YouTube. So if you guys want to check that out after the video, it's something that every Halo player should watch. And even if you're like a fan of the new versus the old, or left, right, a campaign kit, I think everyone can appreciate that. So I have that description down below. I want to I want to switch things up a little bit because again, we talked about Eli, now the player, the montager. Uh, we went through a transition from competitive player to coach and analyst. That's where we're at right now for Gamers First. By the way, Oman Bukowski, which mentioned before, one of I believe the co-owners, and obviously you're coaching and the analyst of Gamers First, and one of the breakout teams of season 1 here at HS. If you guys don't know, Google them. Tell me about the journey from player to coach. 'Cause to me, that doesn't sound easy, but maybe you could shed a little bit more light on that.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. I would say that like the benefit that I have is I've always been a very analytical person. Like I've always like okay, so just to back up a little bit, like after I got out of gaming, I went to college. I got my degree in psychology. This was very analytical for that. And I started playing poker professionally, which is a very analytical game. I know you're a poker player yourself. We've shared a few hands online in the streets. Um, and like when I got into poker, I was just I don't just no matter what game I play, I get hyper analytical about it, and I want to figure out like, okay, why are some people winning more than other people? And I always think about it in that way. So like I think because that quality that I have, it made the transition from player to coach a little bit easier because I've always thought about the game in a different way. Um, but as far as like the actual journey with G1, uh, I think your next question was going to be like, how did that start, right? Like, how did I get into G1?
Mm-hmm. Man,
So
he knows it all. Damn, he really is an analyst, right? He broke me down psychology style, and read in my mind.
I mean, I felt like where we were going with this. So yeah, I mean, the whole like G1 thing was kind of a surprise to me too. So first of all, I was living in Virginia. I was still gaming, mostly like watching more so than playing. I was still streaming sometimes. And then out of the blue, old man Mikowski hits me up. And Mikowski, I teamed with back in Halo 3. We actually got top 16 at Columbus '09. So 100 years ago. But he hits me up. He's like, "Bro, we should start playing Halo 3 again. Let's do some like streams. Let's get our chats involved. Let's play some Halo 3." So we did that for a few weeks. It was like a Wednesday thing. And then we're getting more info about Halo Infinite, and we're like, "Yeah, this game actually looks like it's gonna be sick. This is gonna be a good competitive game. Like, I really like what I'm seeing." And he calls me and he's like, "Look, I know I told you about G1, this org that I started with Kenny Vaccaro. We are really serious about going all in on Halo this year, and we want you to be the coach." And at the time, I was working for an insurance company, and I was like hating my life. I was like, I just did not have a good time working for an insurance company. It's like, you know what? If I can make money doing this, even if it's less than what I'm making at my job, like it's worth it because I'll actually enjoy what I'm doing. So I went all in on it. I was like, let's do this. And I started scouting players. Before Halo Infinite even came out, I was scouting our team and I was watching everybody. And at the time, like I looked at Ryan Newman Rain. I messaged him and he was like, I've already been contacted by somebody. Obviously later I find out it's United. I was looking at a ton of different players. I even hit up Boo Boo Dubu. This was before he ultimately actually joined our team. And I was looking at him, but he had already been contacted by FaZe, obviously. So it was kind of like this weird game where I'm like, okay, what's the best possible team I could create that's not already picked up by one of these tier one orgs? And everybody was so hush hush at the time, it was hard to tell who was a free agent and who wasn't. And then ultimately I come across or Gunshot messages me, and Gunshot, if anybody knows me, knows I teamed with him for several events in Halo 3. We've been best bros for a while. Also a montager. You should watch Gunshot's montages if you haven't. And he was like, "Bro, been playing with Predevinator, Squale, and Sargoth, and we're beating everyone. We don't lose. We're on a 300 game win streak on Master Chief Collection." And I was like, "Holy shit!" And I started watching their streams. I was like, "I've never heard of this Squale guy. Can you send me a screen?" Started watching his screen. I knew Predevinator was good. I didn't need to watch his screen. I knew Gunshot's good. And then like after a while, I've just been talking to McCaskey about it. I was like, I think this is our squad. I think this is who we take into Halo Infinite. And I believed in them. And yeah, from the jump, I think we got top 48 in the first open series and then top 6 in the very next one. So I was like, okay, we made the right decision. And man, I could go through 100 different twists and turns throughout the season from there, but that was kind of how we got the first roster and how I got involved in the first place.
Well, you mentioned the placings, and because I am the next Louis V Titan, I already brought up the placings on screen. You can probably see my screen right now.
Oh yeah.
And you know, you kind of glanced over it, and I want to just add a little bit of emphasis to that. Squale, Devastator, Sargoth, and Gunshot. We go in November 21st, top 48, and by any means, when I read those, especially like Devastator and even you and Gunshot, and Sargoth, I don't see top 48. The next week.
Yeah.
The next week, ladies and gentlemen at home, the next week, it was 7 days, in case you don't know how long a week is, top 6. From top 48 to top 6 with the same exact team. What the hell happened? Did we turn the hacks on? I bet we turned the hacks on. That was it, right? We turned the hacks on.
Man, there was probably some theories about that. But no, I mean, honestly, those open series, I mean, they were best of 3. And the very first one, there was no seeding because, it's brand new. So it's almost like random seeding. I don't know if they gave any like former top players like higher seeds for that. But it was that first one was kind of a crapshoot. We ended up playing against, I think the only 2 teams we lost to were Optic and G2 when we got top 48. So we were playing, I'm pretty sure we played G2 for top 32. and we barely lost game 3 because it's best of 3. And I think we lost by like 1 or 2 kills in game 3. Funny story though is we ended up playing G2 again the next week for top 12, and we narrowly beat them in game 3. So we kind of got our revenge the following week after studying film and figuring out, okay, what did we do? What were they doing right? What were we doing wrong? I feel like that team had a generally good attitude about like how to improve, because the game's so new. Like you have to have an open mind if you're playing a brand new game. Like the meta has not developed whatsoever, so like every single ounce of competitive gameplay can be studied to, glean some type of data or information from. So at the time, we went to the lab, we figured out what we did wrong, came back a lot stronger, did top 6. So. And this was when all the teams were in the open series. So that was, I think, didn't Optic win the first one and then Cloud9 started winning them? I can't remember, but it's all the same people that are still winning today. So.
Yeah. And just to since we're already here, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of rundown of the teams and how G1 started versus how we finished. Any teams that you or names that you want to talk about, just interrupt me real quick, and we'll dig a little bit deeper into them. But again, top 48. Squale, Pre-Devastator, Sargoth, and Gunshot. We're gonna obviously see Squale and Pre-Devastator more. Squale, player that hit just great accuracy coming from you as well. You said oftentimes you'll see him hit 70% accuracy at the end of a game, which is absolutely incredible, especially because I think the repulse counts at 28 shots. I know you can't use the repulse if you're doing that.
He's the most accurate player in the league. If you go to the Halo Data Hive stats, you can actually go through the filters and like look at everyone's different stat metrics, and he's actually the most accurate player in the entire game.
That is crazy.
So
that is crazy to think about. It almost rides like a Raw 2 type of player who just, when it comes to point and click, doesn't matter what game it is, he just gets it. Like he just simply gets it. Devastator, often known for just doing that dirty work and having the skill to also back it up. You have a lot of dirty work players, you have a lot of like skilled and talented players, and Devastator kind of checks off all the boxes. Probably one of the best teammates, I would imagine, going in. Eventually we get to Ali. Sure. For those of you guys don't know, now, formerly known as Commonly, X Games gold medalist. Actually, I did it behind the screen with him back in Halo 5, actually. And then we had Marbs. I'll be honest, I had no clue. I had teams hitting me up that were mad at me because they're like, "Bro, why didn't you tell me about Marbs?" I was advising a little bit for different teams, just letting them know a little bit of talent that's out there. And people were like, "Why did you talk about Marbs?" I'm like, I didn't freaking know.
Yeah, nobody really knew about Marbs. That was actually Squale's friend. that I guess Squall played with him and other Halos and even other games besides Halo. That's how he was the one that brought Marbs to the team. They were friends online for a long time, and he knew he had a lot of skill. He played against him in matchmaking all the time, and he was popping off. And then, yeah, we actually tried out before we picked up Marbs. We tried out Carmea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Carmea's
but
nasty.
and Carmea was nasty, but I guess like overall we thought that Marbs was better decision making, and he was consistent. Whereas Carmea like would pop off, but he would also have games where he just didn't do as well, and like kind of felt like he was a little young and still growing at the time. I do think his future is very bright in the HCS, but like at the time we thought he might need more time in the oven before he was ready. So ended up settling on Marbs, and honestly, he played really well at Anaheim. So I wish he stayed in the scene, but like after we made our team changes and he left our team, I think he just decided like it's not worth it to play Halo unless he's like already on a top team. So he just also I'm pretty sure he's addicted to FIFA. So I'm pretty sure he just like plays FIFA and spends way too much money on that game, as far as I know. But yeah, that was Ali and Marbs, and Ali's a fantastic player, but I don't want to get too much into it. But there you can see some in the documentary.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch the G1 documentary, that there were some personality clashes when it came to Ali and the rest of the team,
Mm-hmm.
and that ultimately led to we picked up Tony after. See you
Yeah.
highlighting Tony. You want to talk about Tony, huh?
Well, I mean, eventually we get to Tony Two Shirt, former Call of Duty player, to my knowledge, and with lots of passion. During the documentary, I found out the man can talk trash. Never met a Tony I didn't like, and the man, he was a very interesting personality at the LAN events, from what I saw.
Yeah, I love Tony, man. He's such a good kid. I still play with him whenever I can. No, he was a lot of fun to have on the team. At the same time, though, I also wanted to fucking kill him several times. Just because, like, I don't know, he's young. He didn't understand a few things that were important. I don't want to get into one story, but man, at one of the tournaments, I almost choked him to death because he just almost chalked the entire event for us over like something really fucking stupid. But I can't get into that right now.
No problem. Eventually, we bring on Swish. I've known Carmea for a long time. Like I said, I did a behind the screen with Ali back in Halo 5. I actually did a behind the screen with Swish back in Halo 5 as well. I've known him for quite some time. Back when I was trying to compete, I would often be in 8's lobbies with him. And I think being in the lobby is probably the extent on where that goes. Like, I wasn't competing. I was just in the lobby. It's pretty much what I was. Always been a grinder. Always been a high IQ player. Eventually, we bring Swish on board, and then eventually Boo Boo Doo, and our final roster ends up being Boo Boo Doo, Dev, Squale, and Swish. Swish, I would imagine, one of the IGLs, maybe a co-IGL, a grinder, playmaker. Squale, like we said, high accuracy, just hits his shots. Devastator, that dirty work player, but always making the right plays. And then Boo Boo Doo, I'd imagine, probably that main IGL of the team, and also stepping into more of a Slayer role than he probably was back in phase, to round out this roster, which we'll probably talk about that a little bit. I don't even know how we got here. Talk about that a little bit more going in. But so you mentioned play. That's what it was. You mentioned placing, so I figured let me bring it up, and then somehow went on a rant about Ross. Hey, we're having a good time here, Eli. I'm enjoying talking to you. I wish I know you can't say the same, but you know what? I'm having a good time, and that's what matters.
You know I love you, Tony. You know I love taking your money at the poker table, and then and then hanging out with you after the stream and playing some games. No, I'm having a good time. Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about the about the coaching, and I want to go a little bit about what I want to go to specifics about coaching. What is the job of a professional coach of a Halo team?
Yeah, I feel like the primary. I mean, a coach wears many hats. I'll say that. I mean, I guess it probably varies from team to team, but the coach is doing some managerial work as far as like having some say and influence in what the ultimate roster looks like. That does more so just come down to the players, though, who the players jive with and enjoy playing with and have good chemistry with. Um, the coach also like organizes and schedules scrims. Like I just DM all the other top coaches and we make a schedule. But outside of those kind of things, you got to keep up with the meta of the game and see like what strategies are winning games. You got to check out like which teams are doing what in different scenarios. You got to keep up with starting strats of different teams so you can come up with counter strats or help the team, basically give the team data that they can use to come up with their own counter strats. um, as a coach on this roster, I took a mostly like information based approach where I try to just feed, because like the players ultimately are the ones that are making the decisions, right? Like they're the ones that are in the game, they're the ones that are working together, they're calling the shots, for the most part. But the coach is kind of like supplemental person that tries to make the burden of being a player not so difficult. And that's kind of the way that I took it. I was like, okay, how much brain space can I free up for these guys so that they can make the most effective decisions in game and be in that zen, almost like flow state of mind more often? Because me, I studied psychology, so I know for optimal performance the way you're going to play your best game is if you can just fully lock into the game and almost become the Spartan that you're playing as and have no extra thoughts in the back of your head that are distracting you. So that's kind of the way that I wanted to be as a coach. When it comes to like timing literally everything on the map, I'm timing grapple, thrusts, shock nades, spike nades, rocket, sniper, overshield camo, like every single possible thing that I can help them know like when it's coming up. That'll help them make better decisions to rotate around the map, control the sandbox more effectively, and then just give us an upper hand in most scenarios. As far as like early in the game, I felt like I thought I needed to call out like spawns, like where the other team is spawning, but honestly, this game predicting spawns is pretty simple and straightforward. Like I think most people, even in matchmaking, like can predict spawns. So for me to call out spawns would just kind of muddy up comms. And our team was very effective with communication. I would say like that was one of our big focuses throughout the year was like how can we communicate information in the most effective way. And we kind of like I don't know. I spent a lot of time reviewing our footage, looking at our scrim results, looking at other teams' footage and scrim results, and kind of comparing the two, see where the differences are, and then bring whatever I pick up to the team and say like, "Hey, I've seen this strategy working in this way. Why don't we try this? I saw this person throw this nerd nade on this map. So there's a lot of just like recon work. I would often get to the facility, the G1 facility, with Kenny in the morning. We would do our workout, and then I would just get on the computer and I have every single pro player added to my friends list, and I would just click on different people's names, pull up their scrims from the night before, and just watch other teams play. And I'm just trying to look for any possible edge or little detail that I could pick up that I could bring to the team. So I'd say those are like a lot of the parts of being a coach, but there's also just like being a friend, helping teams talk through. Because I mean, we're gamers at the end of the day. Not all of us are like super social, and people have disagreements. And sometimes you need to be like a voice of reason. Like, hey, he doesn't actually fucking hate you. Like, I don't know. There's different moments that you kind of have to like manage friendships and personalities. So that was a little part of it as well. So there's a lot to it, that's for sure.
I mean, it sounds like it, and I love the that you said that you would watch other teams swims and almost look for like tendencies and or habits or strengths, weaknesses. Whether you can implement it into your game and instill knowledge upon your players, or even find out like a chink in the armor, so to speak, and find out how you can break down their setup. I think if I was a coach, I think that would be one of the biggest things that I would do. And then just before series, just feeding in like, hey, when Cloud9 go two down, they slow down. Don't worry about getting aggressive. Get to that 50. Because they slow, just little tendencies, little habits. I think could be so valuable when offering to your team, especially like right before going into a series. I love that. Um,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
gonna.
that's definitely one of the biggest things that I did. Probably what I spent the most time on.
I love that. Uh, I I love you as a person, player, coach, analyst, but I also
Oh,
love
I
you.
love you too, Tony.
I also love the org you represent. I'm I'm a huge fan of Gamers First. In case you guys don't know, Katie Vaccaro, owner of G1, former NFL player, was getting active offers and decided to go in a different direction and decided to start up G1 because it was something he was passionate about. Always been a gamer and just and from the content that you guys produce, which is top tier beyond any other. Well, dare I say, you have tier one orgs. As of right now, I'd put G1 in tier two right now, but soon to be tier one. It's only a matter of time. And just everything you guys represent from the health and fitness to getting better inside and outside of the game. It really is amazing to see from an outside perspective, but I want to know, what does Gamers First mean to you, and being a part of that org. Talk to me a little bit more about Gamers First.
Yeah, I mean, it really does come straight from Kenny. Like you said, he turned down offers from NFL teams. Like, I've seen the text messages. He gets messages from, like, I don't even want to say the teams. I don't know if he wants me to out them, but he had offers from serious teams to keep playing football. But like, he was believing in G1 and like kind of the momentum that we were starting to build. Uh, and he was like, you know what, I want to focus completely on this. And like, I believe in all of the pillars of it. So there are three pillars: are content, culture, and competition. And obviously, you mentioned the content. They spend a lot of time on that. Make sure it's top of the line. I think our creative team is probably the biggest part of the org right now. Is we have more editors, videographers, like, than we have anybody else. Um, and those guys are amazing. So they're an awesome team. The really the best part about Gamers First though is like, it's a holistic approach, right? Like, we have a fucking doctor that gives the team massages at the tournaments. Like, he travels with a fucking massage bed, sets it up in like the warm up area of the tournament, and like works on all your pressure points and stuff. Like, I'm getting massages in the back at the tournament just to make sure, like I said, to free up as much brain space as possible for the game itself. Like, you want to make sure your body is in good shape so that your mind can operate most effectively, right? So um, that's a big part of it. Kenny would like all the whole team to be active and work out because he knows the benefit of that. But at the same time, like, we're still all gamers. It's hard to like completely change your lifestyle overnight. So it's more for him. He's kind of like, all right, the gym is literally downstairs at the facility. You can use it or not. Like, if you want to work out every day, it's right there. So, obviously I took advantage of that and I was working out every day. Um, and it really does help you like become a better person, more effective. You get more done if you're like working out and eating better, like just providing good fuel for your body. So that's one of the biggest parts of G1. Also, just like being a good role model within the space, because I mean, we all know the stereotypes. Like, gamers are antisocial, maybe overweight, maybe, I don't know, just not. We haven't always received the best respect. I think nowadays it's changing a little bit, but he wants to say, like, you know what, I was a former NFL player and I'm a gamer, and he's a gamer first. He's not an NFL player first. He's a gamer first, and that's really where the name comes from. Is like, we all kind of go about our lives, even like a nurse at a hospital, she goes home and plays Candy Crush. She's a gamer before she's a nurse. So that's kind of like the idea behind the name. Um, and that's why they always say it's bigger than us, because we're trying to like, just be better role models for the space, in a space where we don't have a lot of great role models. So I think it's important, and it's something that we've needed for a very long time. So that's why I'm definitely proud to be a part of it. Um, Because back when I played and competed, like, we had nothing like this. Like, I don't know, you were considered like a nerd or like an outcast if you were a gamer in the '90s, and then like over time, it's steadily gotten more and more accepted to now where it's like, it's cool to be a pro gamer now. It's like, I don't know, it's crazy to me to be in the space for 20 years now, and to see how much it's changed. And I think that organizations like G1 and potentially other orgs like them in the future are going to be what shapes kind of the future of the space.
It's just
Um,
I never cease to be impressed by G1 organization, and the more I hear about it, whether it be from you or others, and the more I just see, I fall in love all over. It's if, from the pillars that you mentioned before. I think it's a culture, content, and competition. The C's. Um, from that to it's bigger than us. I don't know. I love that. But and
Yeah.
the content that drives you guys, the team. You guys are obviously lovable. It's it really is amazing to watch the growth from you and your team and the organization, and I hope the best for all of you, individually as a unit. Just because just to watch has been so impressive, and like I said, I've fallen in love with all of it, and I almost feel like I'm a in some way as a somebody who's watching you grow. I almost feel a part of it. Like I don't know. That sounds weird, I bet, but I feel like I'm like I was here from the ground level, and I was supporting from the ground
Yeah.
level, and I whenever I see a tweet come out, I'm liking, I'm retweeting it. You know, like, I
Yeah.
almost feel in a weird way kind of a part of it. I don't know. It's weird. I don't
No,
know.
you are a part of it. No, straight up though, like that's kind of what we mean when we say it's bigger than us, because like we realize that there's other people that think the way we do, but they're not. Their voice might not be heard all the time. So like we want to be a voice for the voiceless in a lot of ways. I know that's like a cheesy ass thing to say,
Hey,
but like a lot of people feel the way that we do about like gaming in the space. And then I've noticed you from the start. Like you saw our potential early on, and you're one of the few like content creators and casters that like gave us our flowers when I thought we deserved it. It took a while for we had to upset Sentinels and Cloud9 before a lot of the other casters started giving us any flowers. So like the fact that you were kind of believing in us, like, hey, they're kind of popping off in scrims. They're kind of beating everyone in scrims. So like I was appreciative of you, and like I've kind of felt like you and a few others have like you said, been there from the start. So now we appreciate and seen what you've done. Um yeah, man, you are a part of it.
you're gonna see how much you appreciate it when I start hitting with the hard hitting questions, because it's bigger than us. And as of right
It
now,
is.
we with the
Yeah.
audience has some questions we need answered. So uh, let's be honest. Toward the tail end of the season, there seemed to be, from the outside looking in, there seemed to be some inner conflict, and I could be off basis. We could be off basis, but if there was, can you talk about it? And you could be general. You don't have to be specific. What was going on toward that tail end of the season, leading into Orlando and Worlds? It didn't feel the same.
Yeah, I mean, what's really crazy about that too is like even though there was internal conflict, we still were one kill away from beating Sentinels for top 6 at Orlando. Like the team itself was still very good, but you're not wrong. There was definitely some like I can't get into specifics, but essentially some players stopped trusting each other because what it ultimately boiled down to a lot of misunderstandings and like people talking behind each other's backs, and then people hearing things from other people, certain people wanting to make team changes and others didn't, and just it was kind of a mess. And was really annoyed by the whole thing because I was kind of looped out of it. Like I said before, I like to be the I guess like a mediator when there are interpersonal conflicts and kind of help and like talk to both parties and come with a resolution. I think that's one of my strong suits. Just as a person, like I'm a resolution based person. So like I try to minimize conflict in my life, and if I see a scenario that I can fix, that I do my best to do so. But in this specific scenario, I was kind of out in the dark until it was too late and people suddenly dislike each other on the team or are butting heads, and now they like things that happen outside of the game translate into the game itself too. Like if you don't trust a person outside of the game, are you going to trust are you going to go out of your way to save their life in the game? Probably not. If you think that they're a backstabber and they're not trying to help you in real life, like you're going to feel that way when you're playing the game too. Like it all translates. Um and I think that was part of our breakdown is like before that, when everyone's all hunky dory and having a good time and trust and believe in each other, like we could literally beat any team. And then once these like communication breakdowns and trust issues start bubbling up within the team itself, then it manifests in worse gameplay, worse teamwork, and worse placements. So yeah, I think that and Kenny said it best in one of the films. He's like, if we don't fuck with each other outside of the game, like how are we gonna fuck with each other inside of the game? Like, and that's just the truth. You can't have good teamwork if you hate each other. That was an issue with a few of our rosters, to be honest, and behind it was a reason behind a few of the team changes, and then unfortunately, also part of the reason why I think we underperformed at the last two events of the season.
Well, I mean, you said you're a results-driven person, and like you kind of alluded to before, even with the interpersonal issues that were going on, you're still 1 kill away from getting top 6 over Sentinels, knocking Sentinels to their lowest placing of the season, maybe their entire career. And
yeah,
I mean, that still says something about your team and where you are, which leads to my next question. What are the expectations for G1 now going into season 2? Season 1 is under wraps. Now what are we looking for going into season 2?
So season 2, I mean, we still don't really know fully what the roster looks like. I mean, like I said, that with the interpersonal issues, I think that to have the exact same 4 players together that we had at the end of the season, I think is impossible at this point. So I mean, what we're really looking for is just like a team that has that bond and culture and structure and is willing to do whatever it takes to win. It's really just like about building a team that represents what the org stands for: content, culture, and competition. And that might be a completely different team. I don't even know at this point, honestly. But we want to kind of, like I said, just be role models. We want to have a good group of guys that enjoy playing with each other, that can be towards the top and just work and grow every day. That we don't need to win the tournaments to kind of achieve our goals at G1. Like I said, we're trying to change the way the space looks and be good role models in the scene. Maybe incorporate more fitness and content, going into the next season. And I think as long as we're doing that, it doesn't really matter what the placements are, as long as we're like a relevant team within the scene and we're always striving to be better. Like the placements kind of happen naturally after that, right? Like you can't build a team from placements first. You got to build like the right culture around winning and around the team has to know how to win properly and also know how to lose properly. And that's what we're looking for going into the next season.
And you said that it's going to be hard and damn near impossible to have all 4 players coming back for season 2. And you opened up Pandora's box. I gotta ask Eli, what does the roster? Who's on the roster going into season 2? Can you tell me? And now the exclusives here.
And if I knew, I might tell you something, but shit, I don't even know. It's I mean, we just went through crazy roster mania before Orlando, right? And I think this is going to be even more so. I know some other things that are going on behind the scenes that I know you've already heard some rumors about that we both can't say anything about. But I mean, there's going to be some insane shakeups, and probably just the next few weeks, because we've got the Optic Invitational coming up, and then Charlotte's February. So I mean, over the next month or so, we're going to see a lot of insane movement. And like it's hard to know where everybody lands until the dust is settled. So it's your guess is as good as mine.
Well, guys, this was part 1 of Behind the Screen. This is actually the longest interview that I've done on Behind the Screen. I think we hit damn near close to an hour. Just in the one portion. Usually we do an hour for the whole actual show, and just for the one portion, I really
talk a lot. Sorry about that.
I enjoyed it. And if you guys like this kind of long form content for interviews going forward, let me know in the comments down below in the YouTube. If you guys like the shorter form, let me know as well. We can go back to it. But I think this was really good, and I think this is gonna be a really fun watch for you guys. Part 2 is gonna be underway. If you click on this link right here, you're gonna see part 2, where now we go into the film review. Thank you guys so much.